Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome sis. My name is Yap, and in today's video I have this really easy pink makeup look on my beautiful client, aka my sister. So let's get started. So first things first, I'm just gonna clean off her brows with some rubbing alcohol on a cotton pad just to get rid of any oils or excess makeup or anything that was on her face. And then I'm gonna take some Got to Be Glued gel, y'all know how I do, and I'm gonna use a mascara wand to just work that into her eyebrows and really just make sure that everything is neat and in place. Now if you are wondering why I use that gel to like keep it in place, you can just check out a very in-depth brow tutorial on my channel that I have, so I'm not going to do too much explaining about that. But basically it's just to keep the hairs in place, and if your client's eyebrows aren't done, it makes it look like they are, and it gives the fluffy natural brow type of look that I really like. And then I cleaned around it with some more alcohol because you don't want it to be sticky. But now I'm just going to line her brows with this beautiful brow pencil from Absolute New York, the best brow pencils in my opinion, and they're only like $4. And I'm just going to carve out her brows in the shape that I want it to go, and then I'm going to fill it in with some hair-like strokes. Now when filling in the brows, I'm being very light-handed because you can't go in with the spoolie and like brush them out because there's hair gel in it. So I'm being very light-handed, making sure that it's not too harsh, and you know, I'm just filling it into my liking. So now here's the fun part. We're gonna conceal her brows, and I'm just using a flat concealer brush that I got from AliExpress that I will leave in the link in the description box. And the Tarte Shape Tape concealers in tan and light sand, I mixed them together, and now I'm just going to, you know, carve out her brows with concealer and clean them up. And I'm just making sure that the brush is really flat. As y'all know, I put all the products in the screen, and I'm gonna leave the link in the description box to the brushes and some more products in this video that I don't really, you know, have a name for. So yeah, just carving out the brows, making sure that the brush is really flat, making sure that I get really close to the brow, not making it too thick or too thin, and I'm just going to conceal it. Now I know the concealers probably look really light against her skin, but don't worry, they're all gonna blend out. I promise you, in the end, you won't have that ugly halo brow and it won't look crazy. Now to get a really sharp tail, I'm going to take a concealer that's a little lighter and creamier and thicker, and I'm just going to add that to the tail end of the brow just so that it's really sharp. And then I'm going to blend that out with this beautiful brush from e.l.f. It's the blending Perfector brush. Nice and dense, but it also has a little bit of fluff to it, so it leaves a seamless blend whenever you're blending out concealer, foundation, or whatever liquid or cream product. If you have troubles with getting rid of the boxy eyebrow, all you have to do is put some concealer in the middle of the brow and then take the concealer brush that you use to blend out the concealer and just buff and tug at the beginning to get that gradient effect. But sometimes if you end up taking too much off, you could just add a little bit back like how I'm doing and just work with the brow, adding some back, taking it off, and just making sure that you have the right, you know, ombre effect that you want. So now we're on to this extremely easy eyeshadow look. So first things first, just gonna prime the lid with a really light primer so that the pink color really pops. And I'm using the PLOUISE RUMOUR Base 2 as my primer, and I'm just gonna put that on the lid with the concealer brush and then blend that in with the blending Perfector brush from e.l.f. Now make sure you're buffing in the primer and making sure that it's very smooth, because when you apply a matte eyeshadow on top of that, you don't want it to like crack and crease, and you don't want it to be patchy. So you have to make sure that it's very flawless. And now I'm going to take the Morphe M433 brush, and I'm just going to pat on this nice pink color from the Playing in Makeup by Yolando palette. I believe I used the shade Raw, and it's a nice pink color. And I'm just patting that on, slowly bringing it a little higher to the brow bone, but not too high. And then I'm gonna blend it out just a little bit. Now, if you have struggles with knowing what brushes to like use to blend out eyeshadows and get the perfect eyeshadow look, you guys could check out the video that I posted not too long ago on my channel about how to get the perfect eyeshadow look and how to blend properly. And now I'm just buffing out the pink with a nice pale pink from the James Charles X Morphe palette on this Morphe M506 brush that's very nice and fluffy and packs on a lot of product. And then I'm going to take a hot pink from that same palette and just add a tiny bit just to get a little bit of like a hot pink. And that's pretty much it for the actual eyeshadow portion of this look. It was very easy and very quick to do. So if you're a beginner, definitely recommend these type of looks. And then I'm just going to do a wing, and I'm using the Wet n Wild Megaliner in black. And when I do wings, I kind of like make an outline first. So I start with the tail and then I drag it in and fill it in as if it's like a coloring book. And you know, I'm just making sure that it's nice and thick to my liking and making sure that both eyes match. And then I'm going to clean it up with some concealer to make sure that the wing is really sharp. Whenever I put on lashes, whether that's on myself or my clients, I always add lash glue on the actual lash line just to add an extra hold. And then I'm going to put a little bit of highlighter on the brow bone, and I'm using Conceited from Artist Couture just to add a nice pop so when the light hits, it's like a beautiful shine. And now I'm going to move on to her face. I did her lashes off camera, and I'll leave a link in the description box for the lashes that I used in this video. And then I put some moisturizer on just to moisturize her face. And now I'm adding a little bit more concealer around the brows just to redefine it. And I'm going to blend that out with a foundation brush. And this is the Morphe foundation brush. It's called Y8. I believe that's the name of the brush I used. So then after I put on the moisturizer and redefine the brows, I'm going to move on to the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This primer really makes the makeup last long, and it kind of moisturizes the skin a little bit as well. But I really love it because it gets really tacky, and that gives the foundation something to stick to. So now I'm going to add the mattifying primer from Rimmel, and I'm going to set that with some powder. My sis, aka my close friend Precious, shout out to you for being in my video. She has really oily skin, especially in the nose area, so I find that using a mattifying primer and setting it really makes the makeup last all day, and it really contains all the oils, especially on people with oily skin. So after I let that sit for a little bit, I'm going to dust that off, and then we're going to move on to foundation. So when it comes to foundation, I always do a lot of mixing, and in this case I use the Maybelline Superstay foundation, and I mixed it with the NARS Longwear Radiant foundation. Now I cannot tell y'all which shades I use because honestly I think I mixed like 3 or 4, to be honest, because I am such a perfectionist when it comes to the base, because if the foundation is not the right color, I feel like it will throw everything off. So I'm always mixing, but I use like an orangey shade and then a yellow shade, and then I used a dark brown shade to get like the perfect undertone. And I'm not really sure how to explain it perfectly, so I'm gonna make a separate video on how to find the right bases and like shades and undertones for your clients, because I understand how important foundation matching is, because if the foundation is off, I feel like the whole thing will just be off. It won't look right. Even if you highlight and contour, you can kind of get away with it sometimes, but it makes it harder. Like, who wants to go through that? But anyways, after I do my mixing of the foundation, I take a lipstick applicator and I kind of spread it in sections, and then I blend it out. I just feel like, I don't know, I do it in sections just in case I feel like it doesn't look too right. I could like fix it instead of me putting it all over her face and then blending out and then realizing, oh my gosh, it doesn't match, and then I have to take it all off. No one wants to go through that. So I just do it in sections just to be safe. And I use a lipstick applicator because although it may look like I'm applying a lot, I'm actually applying a very thin layer, but it looks so full coverage because I'm spreading it. So I like to spread it first and then pat it into place, because it'll feel very light but it will look very full coverage, and that's exactly what I'm going for. This kind of goes without saying, but you know, just in case there's a couple people here who are new to makeup or new to doing clients and stuff, always blend the foundation down your client's neck, because sometimes the face may be darker than the rest of the body, so you're matching the face to the body, and you know, you want to make sure that everything looks like one. So always blend it down the neck, because the neck obviously connects the head to the body, so you want to make sure that everything is all one color. And then I'm going to move on to highlighting. So I'm just taking a concealer brush and some concealer from Tarte. I think it's the Shape Tape Concealer in Tan. And I'm just like patting that on her face because, like I said, I want to give a full coverage look, but I want it to feel light. So I found that like taking some of the product on a brush and then tapping it into place gives that effect. And I'm just putting it in all the places that the sun hits her face. I have a very detailed highlighting and contour video on my channel as well, just in case you struggle with that. So you guys could go check that out too. Now I'm going over that concealer that we just placed with a little bit of the Kevyn Aucoin Skin Enhancer and the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in Light Sand. I mixed those two together and I'm adding a very thin layer on top of that just because I wanted a little bit more coverage. I love the consistency of the Kevyn Aucoin concealer, but it was too dark, so I had to mix it with something light in order to get her perfect highlighting shade. You don't really have to do that, but I just like the effect that the Skin Enhancer gives. It gives like this glow and full coverageness, and it's just so bomb. But now I'm going to add some contour to her face, and I'm using the e.l.f. Camo Concealer in Walnut. This was her perfect contouring shade. It blended out so great. And I'm using the foundation brush to blend out the contour. When I do makeup on clients or myself, I tend to use the same brush within each application because I just feel like all the products like mesh together on that brush, and it just works better that way for me personally. I also use less brushes that way when I use like one brush on each client. Like I use the same brush for the foundation and contour and stuff like that. So I'm just buffing that into her skin, and when I blend out the contour on her cheeks, I blend it into the highlight so that when I blend out the highlight, they will mesh together and they would just look very seamless and bomb. And if you're wondering why I didn't blend out the concealer yet, if you're new to the channel or whatever, I let the concealer sit because it gets more tacky and that makes it more full coverage when I blend it out. So yeah, now I'm gonna blend it out with the beauty sponge. This is the original Beauty Blenders. No matter which beauty sponge I go to, I found like dupes and stuff like that, but I always find myself coming back to the original Beauty Blender because it just works the best, to be honest. Like I just love it so much. But the Real Techniques beauty sponge works just as good. But anyways, just buffing that out, blending it into the contour, and also just blending it into place, making sure everything looks nice and seamless or whatever. Now, when I blend out the concealer, I tend to go back in with the foundation brush to like blend out the edges of it so that you can't really tell where the contour starts and where the highlight stops. You don't want any harsh lines, so I just switch back and forth from the foundation brush and the beauty blender to make sure that there is no harsh lines, because you want everything to look like one. You feel me? You want depth and dimension, but you don't want to be able to tell where it starts and where it stops. So after I do that, I'm going to set the under eyes first, and like all the hard places that's like hard to reach and the places that crease fastest on the face, I set those first, and then I go in with a makeup sponge afterwards. So it's usually under the eyes and the bridge of the nose and like around the nose area. And if your client has smile lines, you should go in with that first too. And then I'm going to use a beauty sponge to like actually apply the rest of the powder into place and stuff like that. And I'm just going over the highlighted areas under her eyes, the bridges of her nose, her forehead, Cupid's bow, and a little underneath the contour, because when you wipe it away, it'll give a very sharp look to the contour and it'll just make your client look super snatched. And now I'm just going to set the places that I didn't set with the baking powder with some translucent powder on the BH Cosmetics small powder brush. And then after I set that with the powder first, I'm going to go in with some bronzer. Now I could have went in with the bronzer first without like setting it, but sometimes when you set powder, when you set cream contour or liquid contour with a bronzer, it gets a little patchy. So I set it first and then I put bronzer on top. And then I'm going to dust away some of the baking powder or whatever with the foundation brush, because I don't know, I just find that the foundation brush will get rid of any like flashback that there may possibly be, because it still has some product left over from the contour and the foundation. Under the eyes are very delicate, so to wipe away the powder under the eyes, I use the Real Technique setting brush, and I'm just dusting that away. And then I'm going to slightly contour her nose with the same Morphe Glamour bronzer that we used to bronze up her face on a Morphe M506 brush, I believe. And then I'm going to use my foundation brush to make the lines a little less harsh, because I'm not really heavy on like nose contours, but I like it to be very subtle. And then after that, I'm going to add a little bit of blush to her nose and her cheeks just to give it a nice pop of pink and add some nice color to her face. And I'm going to put on some highlighter, and this is from Artist Couture, using a Morphe M510 brush to apply that. And I'm putting that in the highlighted areas of her face, which is like the tip of her nose and her cheeks and stuff like that. And then I put a little bit of the Fenty Beauty Diamond Balm on, because that's what gives my clients that beautiful sparkle that y'all love to see in my videos on Instagram. And then after that, I just line her waterline with this Absolute New York gel liner. This is the pencil liner, and this is the best gel liner that I like pencil wise. And then I'm adding a little bit of that like Egyptian eyeliner type shape to her eye or whatever. And I just do that by like drawing a triangle in the like inner corner of her eye and then like filling it in. I just felt like the look kind of needed that, just to add a little bit of drama, because, you know, why not? The eyeshadow was so simple, so, you know. And then I'm putting a little bit of the pink that we used on the eyeshadow look, like on her lid or whatever, and I'm putting that underneath the gel. And then I'm putting on some mascara on the top and bottom, and now we're on to the lips. So I'm just lining her lips with this Beauty Supply Store pencil. Y'all, I could not find the name of this, and I can't find it all of a sudden. I don't know where it is, but if I find it, I'm gonna find it just for y'all. Check the link in the description box. I'm gonna put it in the link in the description, but I know it's in the color Muted Brown. But I get it from the Beauty Supply Store, and it's like $1 or $2, and I'm just using that to line her lips, getting ready for the nude lip that I'm about to do. And yeah, anytime I do nude lips, I always line the lips with a darker brown than their skin. And then I'm going to take this Peaches and Cream lip gloss in Back Chat. And y'all, they have the best lip glosses. Like, this is the only lip glosses. Nah, I'm dragging it. It's not the only lip glosses I use, but this is kind of the only lip glosses I use on my clients, because they just work so good. And then I'm taking a little bit of the Acid Rain paint and blank canvas just to make it a little more nude and brighten it up. And then I put some clear lip gloss on top. And now we're setting the face with the Mario Badescu Rose Water on a beauty blender, because we just put on all those layers of makeup, so we have to set all of it. So the beauty blender really gets it into the skin. And now we're all done, y'all. This is the finished look. I hope y'all love it. Fun fact, I did her hair too or whatever. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Let me know what other videos you guys want to see. That was a low light video, and this is how it looks in regular lighting. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in next week's video. Peace.